Why should people come to see All in the Timing at the Zephyr Theatre? Because we're going to give you a challenge, but we're also going to give you a good time. And in my opinion, there's not enough of either one in the world right now. How you doing? I'm Michael Yavnieli. I am the producer and director of All in the Timing, 6 one-act plays plus mere mortals at the Zephyr Theatre on Melrose Avenue. If you want to learn more about this play that we're putting on, have a listen to this conversation. The question being, when did I hear about All in the Timing by David Ives, and what is the impetus that said that I needed to do this now? I was in a production of All in the Timing as an actor when I was in college in 1994 or 5. I don't remember, at Florida State University. I got to do it with some really, really great actors. It was a student production directed by a gentleman named Saxon Palmer, who is in New York now. He's in the New York theater scene. We had some really, really great people in it. Montego Glover, who's been on Broadway, she was a part of the production. There were several people who were founding members of the Dad's Garage Theater Company in Atlanta, who were in that production. Rebecca Tracy, Sam, it's a lot of people who were very dear to me, and have been very dear to me in my life. We all came together and did the production. We did 6 of the shows, and we had a ball. We had an absolute blast doing it. And it was something that I always had fond memories of, but, I just had left it, for what it is. You do a production. It's like, yeah, I don't need to come back to that. I'm done with it. Right. So then Patrick Warburton is a student of mine. And turned out that he and his dad, Patrick, were looking for something to do. They wanted to do a show together. And Talon and I have known each other for a few years. And, Talon's a great student. He's a good friend. And, he said, do you want to direct something, with me and my dad? I said, sure. What do you want to do? He said, I don't know. Let's come up with some plays. So me being me, I go off and I'm like, we'll do Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo. We'll do, a Carol Churchill play about clones called Numbers. We'll do, because I was into what I was into at that time. And I'm taking it to Patrick, who's producing the play, and Patrick reads it, and he goes, I don't want to do that, man. It's dark. It's just too dark. I don't want to do something dark. Because I think people need to have a good time. We need to have fun. And every time people say that, I think to myself, well, what was fun for me? Then I thought of a scene that was done in my class at Beverly Hills Playhouse by a couple of students of mine, Meadow Clare, Taylor Behrens. They did a scene from Sure Thing, which is one of the pieces from All in the Timing. And I said to myself, this is really fantastic. I had completely forgotten about this play. It re-entered the world for me, but through the scene that they did. So I thought about that. And I said, well, what about we do All in Timing? It was a great play. So we got a group of actors together on Zoom to read it. Talon loved it. Patrick loved it. I remembered, oh, yeah, I love this again, too. And then we just cast it. We cast it out of the studio. We've got some great actors. It's really fun. Some students that I've had for years. We have some really, really great people involved in this. And why did I need to do it right now? Because I think the world needs a laugh. I really, really, really think we just need a good time right now. Now, is that all in the Timing is? No, it's not. There is a lot of weight to this. There's a lot of philosophy to this show. There's a lot of, I'm going to leave you thinking at one point, but before we get there, you're going to have a ball. I want you, what we wanted to do was invite people to spend an hour and a half with us and forget about the troubles for a minute, because that's tough to do right now. So why this play right now? Because the world needs to take a breath. So why is Ives a unique writer? Wow. Okay. Ives is, well, okay. The first thing that stands out to you or to me about David Ives is his love of language and his dexterity with language. This is a person who I think David Ives is a guy who, if he hadn't become a playwright, he could have been followed the same route that J.R.R. Tolkien did and been a linguist. You know, Tolkien created how many languages in Lord of the Rings? Ives is that good with language in terms of not only knowing what specific word to use for what, but how to make rhythms. Language is music and harmony and rhythm and all sorts of things. He's a master of that. So it's very easy to act in the same way that Shakespeare is, in that sense, because it not only has a meaning in terms of the words that you're saying, but the rhythm and the harmonics and the everything about it, the music of the language adds to what you're doing, makes it easy to work with and easy to act. That's the first thing you notice about Ives. And what I like also about Ives' writing is he has such a specific view of relationships and such a specific view and an interesting take on the intricacies of the human condition. I know that sounds like a crazy answer, but so one of these pieces is The Sure Thing, which a lot of people know. This is the one that they know from All in the Timing, right? To me, Sure Thing is about just how fragile a relationship is. Like, in Sure Thing, you get to go back and do it again, 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 until you walk the path and you end up at a relationship okay, well, I'm going to be with this person now. This person is going to be somebody significant in my life. That play explores just how fragile that is. And if you miss a moment, if your timing's off by just this much, that person's just going to be a stranger to you for the rest of your life. What do you miss? Then there is, there are other explorations of different parts of the human condition in this piece that are really, really interesting, in the sense that he takes the everyday and he elevates it into something that has tremendous amount of universal meaning. And that's not something that you find in a playwright every day. Not something you find in a run-of-the-mill playwright. It's like Shakespeare, it's like Stoppard, it's like Durang, but at the same time, it's like Ionesco and Beckett, and it's elements of a lot of different playwrights and a lot of different things that, when you put it together, it can lead to a really engrossing and sort of a gripping night in the theater. So the uniqueness of this collection of All in the Timing, because it is 6 short plays, and then a little blurb about each piece. Okay, so All in the Timing as a collection of plays, sort of in my view, is it's very well designed in terms of okay. At first glance, it seems a bit disjointed. It's like, what does Sure Thing have to do with Variations on the Death of Trotsky, which is first to last, right? And how do we get there? Okay, so Sure Thing is basically two people. It's a meet cute. Sure Thing is a romantic comedy, but if you kept getting something wrong and then making the wrong move or saying the wrong thing, and it ends, right? But you get to go through and keep going back and going back and going back and going back and getting the exact right thing for these two people in Sure Thing, which ends up having them be together. Then we've taken another piece from another collection of Ives called Mere Mortals, which is 3 construction workers, basically, without giving too much away, 3 construction workers sitting on the girders of a skyscraper, discussing who they really are. It's got elements of Saturday Night Live, and it's got elements of Waiting for Godot. It's a pretty out there play. I like it. That leads us into something called Words, 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 which, all I'll say about the tagline for Words, Words, Words is, if you've ever heard the concept that 3 apes typing into infinity will eventually produce Hamlet, that's Words, Words, Words. Then we go into the universal language, which I will warn those who are watching, is a play that is not in English for the most part, but it is a fascinating piece that deals with not only language and harmony and music, but also relationships. Then we go from that to the Philadelphia, which takes place in the city of New York physically, but metaphysically in Philadelphia. And then after that, what we end with is Variations on the Death of Trotsky, to which I will say I owe a debt of gratitude to the Marvel series WandaVision for the concept for the Variations on the Death of Leon Trotsky. So seemingly 6 or 7 one acts. There is another one that we chose not to use because we don't have the wherewithal to do a musical. It's called Philip Glass Buys a Loaf of Bread, which is a part of All in the Timing, but we are not doing that in this production. Seemingly these things are very disjointed, but if you look at them from a bird's eye view, they've all got something similar to say. They're all about how fragile relationships are in the modern world, and how important relationships are in the modern world, and how difficult communication is in the modern world, and how are we supposed to go through, and what does it all mean, and why are we here, and so to that end, there are elements that we've put throughout the 6 pieces that unite them, and audience will recognize those as we go along. Without giving too much away, you guys got to come. So the main theme to me that connects all of these stories, this is going to be a very esoteric answer. To me, it's like living in a Rene Magritte painting. There's a beauty and a vibrancy and a color and a brilliance to surreal, but it's surreal. So one of the characters in one of the pieces, to me, this sort of encompasses the whole thing. One of the characters in one of the pieces says, "I am in love with you," and the response to that is, "Really?" And then she responds, she goes, "Surreally." That to me is the main thing of All in the Timing. It's an absurdist, existentialist view on everyday life, which I find to be really fun and funny. Now we can talk about some of the actors and the crew members that are involved with bringing this to life. So as we said before, this is being brought to us courtesy of Patrick Warburton. For those of you guys who have ever watched TV over the last 30 years, you know Patrick Warburton, probably know who Patrick Warburton is. He's best known for being in Seinfeld. He was the Tick. He's one of the most successful voiceover actors ever. He's Family Guy. You ever been to Disneyland and rode Soarin' across the world? That's Patrick Warburton, who welcomes you on the flight. This is somebody who I am very, very fortunate to work with. He's a great guy. And I am his son. Talon is my student and has been my student for some time. And the concept for doing this originally was for them to do something together. They wanted to act together. And I'm fortunate enough to be here to help them do that. I have some help from my wife, Tanya Gonzalez, who is a fantastic actor in her own right. She is in one of the previous videos on this channel talking about All in the Timing. She is my wife and love of my life and my muse. Everything I do in art and theater is basically done to impress her. But hey, that's okay. Then the rest of the company is a pretty diverse group of people. They're friends and students of mine. Meadow Claire is a partnered Twitch streamer. If you like ASMR, you can go check her out. Her stream is fantastic. We have Bill Butts, who is big presence in the anime world and the video game world. He's on things like Genshin Impact, One Piece, many different anime projects. We have Mark Hahn, who was a voice teacher and a musical theater artist. He's been an athlete. He's been a lot of different things in his life, and I mean, he's barely 30 years old. We have Maram Kamal, who is a fantastically talented actor. She is a writer. She's a director. She's written a wonderful short film that I'm going to be directing after I'm done with this. We've got Taylor Behrens, who's a brilliant stand-up comic, who we're lucky enough to have be in Sure Thing. We've got Melody Shea, who is multi-talented actor, singer, songwriter, dancer. So that is a little bit of a sampling of who we have involved in this. And what I like most about this really is part of my career concept for myself as a director is, I think every career sort of has a concept. My career concept is I just want to make cool plays with my friends, and I'm getting to do that here. So pretty much I'm enjoying myself because it's like, this is right on brand for me. It's what I want to do. What do I want the audience to get out of the entirety of the production? Mostly, I want them to get a good time out of it. Beyond that, I would like them to take a look. I would like them to take a look at not wasting any time. Don't waste any time. Don't waste any moments. Don't make any interactions trivial or meaningless. Because a lot of things that we gloss over and a lot of things that we think are trite or unimportant are actually very important. And they're more important than a lot of the stuff we think is important. So there's a line in Trotsky that talks, Trotsky, they keep talking about Trotsky going and looking at the nasturtiums. Take a minute, go look at the nasturtiums. It's important. What am I looking for in terms of directing the 6 plays live at the Zephyr Theatre? I'm going to give this answer from an artistic standpoint, because if we give it from a commercial standpoint, then that just sets us up for disappointment because that's not controllable. So all that I'm looking for is, I'm going to answer this from an artistic standpoint. I'm looking for the actors that we have to tell us the truth and show us the truth of what that is. That's basically what I'm looking for. I'm looking for truth. I'm looking for people in a place having an experience, not really actors on a stage doing a play. Because if we're people in a place having an experience, then the rest of the people that are with us, the rest of the audience, they're going to have an experience too. Whatever it is, I don't know. That's based on what they bring into the theater with them. But what I want them to do is to have an experience that is either a diversion from something that they need a diversion from, or something that helps them to solve some sort of a problem that they have. Because that's the purpose of doing theater, isn't it? Why small theater is important and why small theater productions are important is kind of it's not the same answer, but it's very close. It's very closely related. Small theater, in my opinion, is where the most inspired and creative art happens, that is done in the world of acting. Just because there's not the pressure of having the millions of dollars on the line if you do fall flat on your face. You know what I'm saying? If we fall flat on our face, yeah, it's going to suck. We're not going to want to do that. But nobody at corporate is going to get fired. I'll have a bad time. I'll feel like, oh, well, I tried that and failed. But it's not like, if this were a Hollywood production, like if this were a film, right, a big budget film, and I had this concept that I wanted to try, I don't think I could do that, because I have to get through 47 layers of executives who each have their own risk aversions to be like, oh, no, we have to do something that's right down the line, and we have to do something that's palatable. Small theater is not answerable to lowest common denominator. And that's why it's important. It's important because you can take a risk. It's important because If I feel like painting somebody with two eyes on the same side of their face, I can do that in small theater because I don't have to worry about selling the canvas. You know what I mean? It's about art, not about commerce, which is what's fantastic. So why are small theater productions important? They're important because they sort of, in my opinion, they have the opportunity to set the trail, to blaze trails in art that aren't able to be blazed any other places. Why are small theaters like the Zephyr important? Because they allow small theater productions to do just that. We can do things at the Zephyr and at the Skylight and at the the Odyssey and at the the Court and at the Beverly Hills Playhouse and at so many of the Road and the Open Fist. These are the companies that do work that changes people's artistic life. Those companies, when those companies are healthy, the bigger houses are healthy, in my opinion, because this is where the artists are germinated that go to the bigger houses and make that art. So why is it important to protect those theaters? Those theaters, if you look at New York, those theaters changed theater. The Fantastics didn't start in the Schubert. The Fantastics didn't end in the Schubert either. The Fantastics was in a little shoebox off Broadway, much like the Zephyr, to be honest. So yeah, that's what's possible. You can change musical theater entirely in a little theater. Is there anything else that we need to talk about the play production? The only thing that I will say is I'm super proud of all of the actors that have gotten involved with this and have given so much passion and so much energy and so much love to a project that is merely a labor of love. And I continue to be impressed and admire the dedication and creativity that they've given to this labor of love. And for that, I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate that. I'm Michael Yavnieli. I am the producer and director of Western Warburton's production of All in the Timing, 6 one-act plays plus Mere Mortals at the Zephyr Theatre on Melrose Avenue. We open on October 14th, run through November 20th. We have 3 shows a weekend. You get tickets at onstage 411/AITT, and we'll see you at the theater. Should be a good time.